अपने आप रन हो गया।
Hello, very good morning, all, and welcome to today's session. People are joining with us. We are waiting for a few more people to join. I request everyone to be on mute, please. The webinar is going to start very shortly, so please kindly hold on for a few minutes. Thanks for joining with us. People are joining. We are waiting for a few more people to join. Hello, once again, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Divya. I'm the event coordinator at Relativity Management Solutions India Private Limited. Relativity is a leading Indian multi-process management consulting and outsourcing company. We specialize in payroll, taxation, compliance, audit, and its ancillary functions over 12 years now. Today, we serve more than 175 plus corporate clients across India. Our corporate office at Coimbatore and our branches at Bangalore and Chennai, and our satellite presence at Hyderabad, Mumbai, and Pune. I would like to introduce today's presenter, Mr. Akash. He is a successful young entrepreneur, speaker, innovator, and payroll expert who helps business leaders. He is the director at Relativity and he is well known as a financial specialist for over 12 years now. He is also a frequent guest at events related to human resource, finance, taxation, shared services, and entrepreneurship. It's time to start our webinar. Let's start and over to you, sir.
Hi, morning, all of you. It is a wonderful day and very happy to see you all here. I hope you are able to see me, and I hope you are also able to hear me. One of my team members can confirm that.
Yes, we are able to hear you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And I hope during these difficult times, though we have learned to overcome the challenges of COVID, yet my sincere wishes that all of you are safe, your friends, your family, and your colleagues are safe as well. With little ado, let's begin today's session. I have a very power-packed presentation for all of you. I'm sharing my screen right away, and here we go. Okay, so I hope you're able to see my screen as well. Today's session is particularly interesting to me, right? Because I have been in this business for about 13 years, and I don't know which sides to take. Both payroll software as well as payroll outsourcing, both of the concepts, both of the services or solutions rather, work for different types of companies at different situations. And today, my main and most important objective is to make sure that you are educated from both the sides, right? Though we are a payroll outsourcing service provider, I don't want to be biased towards payroll outsourcing. And hence my objective would be to make sure that you are educated on both the sides. And with that information, you empower yourself and your organization and your team to make the right decisions. With that being said, just a quick reminder for all of our participants who have joined our YouTube live streaming as well as our LinkedIn live streaming. We have a lot of space on Zoom, so you can join us on Zoom as well, because we will have a lot of polls, we will have interaction, questions. My team, as we speak, is putting up the information for you to join on Zoom. So if you feel Zoom is good for you to join, please do take a minute and join us on Zoom. I would really prefer that. So if you typically see, what happens is, this is a session that I take for about 3 to 3.5 hours for those organizations who are wanting to evaluate whether they should continue using their payroll software, or whether they should look at payroll outsourcing model. So I have cut down the whole presentation to fit the time that we have. Roughly that's about 60 minutes. I'll also request all of you to put your questions onto the chat box as and how you get, so that we can address that during the Q&A session. I wish to cover the following. We'll spend about 15 minutes understanding the most common myths about payroll. We'll spend about 25 minutes talking about software versus outsourcing. What are the 3 key factors, the quantitative factors, because that has about 60 to 65% impact on the decision that you may be making in the future, or you are currently wanting to make sometime in the next 3 to 6 months. We will also spend about 10 minutes talking about those 4 qualitative factors, the factors that are inevitable, the factors that don't have a rupee value attached to it, but are extremely vital. So we'll speak about that for about 10 minutes. And then my objective is to spend about 15 minutes taking your questions and answers. So as I told you, I'm going to I have to rush because my team has only given me about 45 to 50 minutes, but I am happy to detail any concept which you can post as a question. And with that being said, just moving on. So the first and foremost, we should understand what by definition is payroll, right? Payroll is by definition how you pay your employees and how much you pay them. That's by definition what payroll is. There is a lot of difference between salary calculation, between payroll service, payroll software, and payroll outsourcing. First and foremost, we need to understand that payroll is not salary calculation. Payroll is much beyond salary calculation. And those with that, I would like to start off with one of the most important myths that I wish to talk about. First and foremost, payroll. The first myth that is very commonly there in the industry among our peer groups is payroll is just salary calculation. No, it is absolutely not. It is effective management of all the organizations' pay related obligations. So paying employees is only one part of payroll. Calculating how you pay your employees is also another part. But what is also extremely important to understand is, apart from calculating how you pay, apart from paying your employees, you also have to deal with the employer obligations, you also have to deal with the government obligations, and you also have to deal with the accounting obligations. That is what we call it as EGA, employer obligations, government obligations, and accounting obligations. So all of this put together is what we call as payroll, outsourcing. So it is not just salary calculation, friends. The second item is payroll is a one-time effort. You just set it and you go and you keep going. Now, as much as I love that it should be like this, it is not. Payroll is like set, go, then there are changes. So you have to reset, and then you go a little further, and then there are changes again, and then you have to reset, and then you have to reset. And these changes can be regulatory changes, these changes can be policy level changes within the organization. These changes could be because of the competitive landscape. You are trying to make sure that you are competitive in how you pay, in what benefits you provide, in how you administer those benefits. So much so are there. So payroll is never a one-time effort. It constantly requires maintenance. It constantly is subject to change. Very funny to for the purpose of today's presentation, I was asking my team, tell me from January to July, right, how many changes have come? And you'd be surprised that there are 87 regulatory changes that have come up just between these 6 months. Right, a majority of them are related to the labor codes, and another majority are related to these, budget, the Finance Act, and the Income Tax Act. So this is a very, very dynamic environment, and we should never consider that payroll is a one-time effort. It is not get, set, go, guys. The third myth that I want to decipher is that payroll can be processed by anybody who is in HR or finance. Now, I don't mean any disrespect to any of you, but it is very important for us to understand that payroll is not everybody's cup of tea. It requires specialized knowledge. Yes, if you ask me, is salary calculation everybody's cup of tea? Probably yes, because that's only about calculations. You have a gross salary, let's say 30,000 rupees, and then you have people who are coming for 25 days. So, you apportion appropriately and you pay them, but it's not the same. As I told you earlier, payroll is not just salary calculation. It is the effective management of all pay related obligations. So, which means we have 50% laws, rules, regulations that impact payroll. We have 30%, the current rules and regulations that impact payroll. And then we have 20%, which are transactions or which are calculations. So, it's not everybody's cup of tea in case you are looking for the payroll, right? You can still do payroll, but that would rather be an incomplete or an ineffective way of managing your pay stubs. The third is payroll is a one-person task. No, it is not a one-person task. I should tell you that it is a team effort. Whether we choose to see this concept or not, once you disburse salaries, you have somebody who's making the bank payments. So you have the payroll processor, and then you have somebody who's verifying the payroll, probably should be the business owner or your boss. And then you have these external consultants who are undertaking, PF, ESI, PT, labor welfare fund, and all of those associated statutory items along with payroll. Then you also have a tax expert who needs to advise you what are the budget changes, how the tax calculation is going to impact the take home of an employee, what changes have happened in TDS filings, in TDS compliance, and so on and so forth. And then the last system that you also have is the payroll system, right? You need some kind of a system to calculate salaries or to process your payroll. Of course, the most legacy system that we have all used probably in the beginning of our career has been Excel. And then slowly we have moved to a payroll software, which we can call as a payroll system. Some companies also go to the extent of complying with labor laws, right? So if you are a company who has 10 employees or above, by default, you have to comply with labor laws, the Shops and Establishments Act, the Payment of Gratuity Act, the Minimum Wages Act, and host of other acts. So it is never a one-person task. It is a combination of team efforts. And finally, the fifth payroll myth, my friends, is that payroll software can do everything. Now, I have to tell you, what goes in comes out, right? So if what you send inside the payroll software is garbage, garbage is going to come out. If what you send inside the payroll software is accurate, it is going to give you accurate results. So it is very vital for us to understand that payroll software cannot do everything, and there are so many things that you need extensions, we call them extended partners, to do for your organization, and we will talk about it a little in detail as we go. But before we go, I want to quickly ask you, I'm going to run a poll. I want to make sure that I'm covering all kinds of audience. So I want to understand what your profile is, what is the industry that you're working in, what function do you belong to, so that when I actually take examples, I cover all of your functions. I take examples specifically from the industry that you're in. I take examples from the employee size of your organization, and that will really help. Take a quick 60 seconds. The poll is already launched. I can see that a majority belong to human resource. Oh, that's okay. So we have a balance between human resource and finance. Employee size of my organization, a majority of them are between less than 100. Another next minority are between 100 to 500, and then there are a couple who are 1,000 and above. I see that only 56% have voted, friends. This makes me understand your profile, and I would really appreciate if you quickly take a couple of seconds to provide your answers. Last 10 seconds, my organization operates majority in the other sectors, IT, ITES, manufacturing. So help me understand, when you say other sectors, can you please use the chat box and provide what other sectors? Is it management consulting? Is it HR outsourcing? What kind of other sectors are you talking about, so that I can make sure that I also take relevant examples that belong to your sector? That's my objective. Please use the chat box at your convenience. I'll really be glad. Okay, so that we have a majority of them who have voted. So yes, as you can see, I'm sharing my results. I'm sharing the results. So we have human resource and we have finance almost equal. We have about a majority less than 100. The next majority is 100 to 500, and then a few of them are above 1,000. And then we have a mix of others and ITES. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And without any further ado, let's quickly move forward. So the first concept that I want to impress upon all of you is who is going to do the work, right? Please understand, as I was mentioning earlier, that payroll is a collection of various tasks, and it has to be executed by different stakeholders, by different people who are responsible for different things. I see some questions: agro and farming and chartered accountants. Wonderful. Thank you. So who's going to do the work? And when we say who's going to do the work, these are all the activities that are included in effective management of pay obligations, right? So you have leave and attendance reconciliation, you have HR changes or inputs, people come, people go, you have employee attrition, you have people who get elevated, salary changes, all of that are categorized as HR changes. You have the core payroll run, which is the core of processing the salaries from gross to net. You have the verification of payroll. So first, somebody is the maker, somebody has to be the checker. You also have to generate payroll reports. Different organizations have different reporting requirements. Some people have simple reporting requirements. Some organizations have reporting requirements which are based on cost centers. Some organizations report based on departments. Some organization report based on multi-location, right? Particularly if your organization has different locations, then the payroll reports are preferred location-wise. Then you have these, concept of making necessary payments. You have to pay your employees. You have to pay the statutory authorities like Provident Fund, ESI, professional tax, depending on the state that you're in, the labor welfare fund, the TDS that has to be paid every month. All of these go to the respective government departments. Then you have to make sure that you release the pay slips and tax computation reports for your employees to look at. Some organizations release this via email. Some organizations have, most of the organizations nowadays have ESS, employee self-service, where all these information can be seen. Then another very important part is to handle employee queries. Why did my pay reduce? Why did my pay increase? Why is my taxes this much? I submitted these bills, they are not paid, so on and so forth. Then you also have filing of this compliance items, Provident Fund, ESI, PT, LWF returns. You also have the last mile services, which is processing Provident Fund withdrawals, processing Provident Fund, transfers, making sure PF KYC is done, and so on and so forth. So these last mile services are those that have interaction with the government department. It also applies not only for Provident Fund, but for ESI, but for PT, but for LWS. Then you also have to undertake TDS returns filing, and then TDS compliance, which is Annexure 1 filing for the 4 quarters, Annexure 2 filing for the last quarter, and Form 16 issuance, Part A, Part B, Form 12B, and all of that. So that is what we refer as TDS compliance. You have to make sure that there are no demands on your 24Q filing and so on and so forth. You have to undertake tax proofs vouching. Let's say you have a reimbursement model, people submit mobile and broadband bills. You have to vouch them depending on your policy, either monthly or quarterly or annually, whatever your policy is. LTA bills have to be vouched. You have the investment proof verification activity, submission and verification activity that happens at the end of the year. And at the end of the day, you also have notices and communications from government departments. I am tired just by telling you the amount of work that you have to do in payroll, right? So this is what it means when I said payroll is not just salary calculation. It is effective management of pay-related obligations. And now I hope you are able to understand that. When we talk about a software, right, I have highlighted these yellow items on your screen, which can be accomplished by a software. Can you, I'll give you a minute or two to quickly go through, those yellow items. There are 4 items that a software can accomplish. You can undertake HR changes directly into your your HRMS or your payroll software. You can process your gross to net using your payroll software. You can undertake generation of payroll reports. Different softwares have different, capabilities. Some softwares give you standardized reports. Some softwares give you the capability to customize the reports. And in some softwares, you can actually reach out to the software service provider, pay extra, and get customization done as the way you want, complete customization. So you have standardized reports, you have templatized customization, which is all the fields are pre-populated. You just drag and drop the kind of report that you want to generate. And the third type of software providers are those who actually do customized reports for your organization based on your need. All of these softwares, or rather at least most of these softwares, are low code softwares. You know what are low codes? What do low code software mean? Low code software means that you don't have to code. You don't have to know the programming language. If you want to set your pay structure, if you want to set your pay heads, all you have to do is go and use the low code methodology, and then use the functions, and then you can create your own salary structure. You can create your own calculations. You really don't need programming. But yes, certain softwares like the large ones specifically, like Oracle's Workday, PeopleSoft, and SAP SuccessFactors, all of these give you a combination of no code plus highly customizable code. So you have multi-country, you have all of these kind of softwares are typically suited in a multi-country environment where there is one single software which is able to accomplish the needs of various entities in various countries. Releasing payslips and tax computation report also happens through the software. So as you can see, the work done by the payroll software in the gamut of the work to be done for effective management of pay is these 4 items. So the question is, who's going to do the remainder of the work, right? Now, let me take a minute and tell you what are the works undertaken by a payroll outsourcing partner. So as you can see, depending on the relationship that you have, the commercial agreement that you have with your payroll outsourcing partner, typically most of the attendees are less than 500 employees in size. You can have an end-to-end payroll outsourcing relationship where your payroll partner will take care of all the items that have been highlighted in green, as you can see on the screen. So all you have to manage is only the leave and attendance reconciliation and making necessary payments. And I also understand even Relativity as a payroll outsourcing solution provider, or our competitors such as ADP, Excelity, all of them also provide cash management services where we make the payments on the organization's behalf. And that's a wonderful thing because you don't have to deal with the complexities in making payments and all of that. So this much is the work done by a payroll partner. Just a quick reminder to all of you, if you have questions, please put them in the chat box. Those of you who are on our YouTube live streaming and on LinkedIn live streaming, hello to all of you. Thank you very much for joining. You also have the option to join us on Zoom. My team is putting the information for you to join on Zoom as we speak. But if you prefer that you're good with YouTube and LinkedIn, no problem at all. Your choice and your option. Okay, moving forward. Now, in summary, if you see, in summary, I'll give you quick 15 seconds for you to, quickly run through what is there on your screen. You have your, no items, and then you have your yes items. And between a payroll software provider and a payroll outsourcing partner, you can see the difference in how many no's are there, right? In a payroll software, there is still a lot of work that you have to do in-house. Let's say you are an HR person, you are a finance person, either you have to do it by yourself or you have to have third parties to do it for you. Like, for example, in most relationships, when you have a payroll software that you take, like, I have my friends, large payroll software guys, Great HR is there, Creedly is there, and there are ADP has a software option, all of these people. So with them, you can only purchase the software, and then you have extensions. We call them extensions. You have a PF consultant or statutory consultant who undertakes all your PF, ESI, PT, LWF related activities. And then you have somebody in-house, or you hire somebody for about 15 days or a month, or you hire a chartered accounting firm to help you with this tax proofs vouching and year-end activity. You have a chartered accounting firm who will also do tedious returns filing for you on a quarterly basis, and help you issue your Form 16s at the end of the year. And you also need a strategic consultant, a strategic payroll consultant to help you with the, do you remember I told you 50% laws, 30% rules, and 20% work? So only that, in that 20% work, only a part can be undertaken by a payroll software. You still need experts, probably on a consulting basis, to help you with what laws are changing, what has changed, what is going to change tomorrow, what impact it is going to have to the organization, so on and so forth. With a payroll partner, you get all of that together on a silver platter, if I may call so. Okay. Now, the second key factor, okay, the second key factor, the first key factor is who is going to do the work. The second key factor on what works best, payroll software or payroll outsourcing, is who has the knowledge and expertise, right? So having said that, we have something which is called as a knowledge framework. In a knowledge framework, what happens, look at the Pareto's principle. You have 80% impact coming from 20% activities, and 20% impact coming from 80% activities, right? So what are these high impact activities? Laws, rules and regulations, and guidelines, systems and processes. These three are the 20% activities which have 80% impact. Let's say, for example, if you configure your payroll software, or even for that matter, if a payroll outsourcing service provider configures their payroll system incorrectly, which is against the law, then we have a huge impact. If we configure it correctly, we may have small errors, but not a huge set of errors. So laws, rules and regulations, and guidelines, and systems and processes are those 20% activities which provide 80% impact. Transactional activities, that is from your gross to net, your KYC compliance, your filing, this, that, all of those are called as transactional activities. Your reminders that you send, your reconciliations that you do, the payroll verification that you undertake, they're all called as transactional activities. That and these filing and compliance activities, they constitute for 80% of the activities, but they only have 20%, because the rules, the systems, the processes, the guidelines on which these transactional activities and filing and compliance activities are undertaken are correct. So when we talk about the knowledge framework, this is what happens. I'm trying to give you some examples to just make sure that you have a wider understanding of the knowledge framework. So what do you mean by laws, Akash? You may ask. I mean, what I mean is what changes due to Code of Wages 2019. What changes? Because what impact will the organization have? What do we need to understand to make sure that the organization is compliant? That is what the law and the understanding of the law says. Rules, regulations, and guidelines. An example is what tax updates are announced in the budget. So these will define the rules, regulations, and guidelines. If we have to change certain guidelines, we have to change them. Sorry. Like, for example, in 2020, when we were all hit by COVID, it was announced that instead of LTA, you can submit bills which have a certain GST component. Radha, please help me. The GST has to be more than 12%, if I'm right.
Yes, it's more than 12 and above.
12 and above. So because people were not able to travel, and that is what leave travel allowance is, people were given an option in 2020 to submit purchases, things or services which has a GST of 12% and above to be claimed instead of travel, right? So these are certain tax updates that happen, and that is going to change our guidelines, and we'll have to carry that out to our employees. Otherwise, your employees are going to have a difficult time understanding why you are not undertaking such things. The third is when we talk about systems and processes, right? All of us may be aware that suddenly, again, I'm not sure if the dates are right, but sometime in June, I think in the first week of June, Arun, help me understand if the first week of June is where PF KYC was made mandatory, and ECR was also not able to be generated for the UN. I hope that's right. So in July, sorry, it's not June, it's July actually. Suddenly what happened is, you cannot generate a UN without KYC. And because you couldn't generate a UN, you couldn't add them to your ECR, PF ECR. And what it meant is, if you don't add them to your PF ECR and you make payments for those set of employees later, then it will attract penalties. So the question that we have to address is, how do we make this a part of our onboarding? So that's what we call about systems and processes. When we talk about transactional activities, the examples are day-to-day processing from gross to net. And when we talk about filing and compliance activities, it is generating all of these TDS, PF, PT, LWF reports and filing them. And this is what happens in a payroll service versus a payroll outsourcing environment. All of that in yellow is with a payroll, in-house payroll program, and all of that in green is with a outsourced payroll program. I'll just give you a couple of seconds to observe. So what you can see is who's going to do the work, right? If you are going to do the work, if you have the knowledge, if you have the expertise in-house about understanding the laws, about tracking them, about decoding the gazetted notifications and applying them to your business, to your organization, then you have the right recipe to use a payroll software, because laws, rules and regulations, systems and processes have to be handled in-house, right? What you can accomplish with the software are only the transactional activities and only the filing and compliance activities. You can generate PF report, you can generate ESI report, you can generate LWF report and TDS report and Annexure 1 data and Annexure 2 data, and all of that host of data you can generate. But what you cannot is answer questions, or what the software will not help you is in answering questions of what are the salary structure changes required, what communication should be sent to our employees because of the changes of the budget, what do we have to do with our reporting framework to make sure that the organization is compliant. That is not the job of the software. And please don't be mad at the software. If I have to tell you nicely, don't be mad at the software. Please understand that software is a framework. You put in data into that framework, you get the data out from that framework, right? So the more accurate, the more thoughtful and mindful you are in putting data into the software framework, the more thoughtful, mindful, and accurate data you will get outside of the framework. So remember that. Whereas with a payroll partner like Relativity, like EY, like KPMG, like ADP, like Excelity, like all the large notable national ones, your payroll partner helps you decode all of this. Your payroll partner will tell you what changes you have to undertake for your systems and processes. What are the changes with the rules and regulations that have happened? What is the right thing to do? What is the wrong thing to do? What should be changed in your salary structure? How your with this code of labor, code of wages, we all know that the law is going to consider 50% as our basic, even if our actual basic is lesser. And this information will be brought to you by your payroll software, payroll partner, not a payroll software. I mean, they may be able to send emails, but are they going to effectively help you understand and make you implement changes in your organizational setup? No, it's not possible, right? When you use Excel, the software has great capabilities, but you still have to know the formula, right? To average, to sum, for undertaking VLOOKUP, for undertaking HLOOKUP, for undertaking XIRR function, you still need the knowledge and expertise of the formulas. You still need the knowledge and expertise of the macros to use the software effectively. And payroll software is no different. Whereas if you have a payroll partner, it is like you having a guy who knows the Excel in and out, who knows the functions in and out, who knows the macros in and out, and all they are going to do is give you the information that is going to enable you to do better. So, quickly, I would like to share, of course, our industry, the software outsourcing industry itself does a lot of knowledge. All our peer companies, all our competitors do a lot of knowledge sharing. And that is what we also have been, we have been mostly ahead of the pack, I would say. We've been doing regular webinars. We have a very information-rich blog which people visit, and there is so much of information, so much of wealth of knowledge that we have because of our experts, and that we also transcend to our clients who have outsourced their payroll with us. Okay, so these are the quantitative factors. Who's going to do the work? Who has the knowledge and expertise? Yeah, based on these two quantitative factors, if I have to give you a chart, right? One axis talks about knowledge in-house, low to high, and another axis talks about work that can be done in-house, which means you have space for efforts. You don't have enough job to do, so you are okay to undertake high efforts. And we still, another example is low efforts. You don't have you don't have enough time to spend on payroll. So this is, if you have enough time and if you have high knowledge in-house, then go ahead, use the software, fantastic. But if you don't have enough knowledge in-house, even if you have a high effort potential, still outsourcing is better. If not payroll outsourcing, at least have a strategic, payroll consultant who can help you with the top 3 items: laws, rules and regulations, systems and processes. You can still do the processing and filing all by yourself. Now, the question is, how much will it cost? I'm sure all of us, need to know this. And I'm sure all of you have a rough idea of what a payroll software costs and what payroll outsourcing costs. But yet, you need to understand that there are 2 tiers in costs. Tier 1 is the quantitative aspects, right? Something that are tangible, something to which I can attach a rupee value. Like, for example, there in tier 1, in the quantitative aspect, the job or the focus is on transactions, is on getting the job done, is on reporting with the various government, of offices or government organizations. And then you have these qualitative aspects. These are the intangibles. You cannot attach a rupee value to them. These are the focus here on tier 2 is value addition through expertise, data security and backups, better employee experience, efficiency, business continuity plan and disaster response. These are some of the qualitative aspects. Now, when we assess the cost, you have to look at tier 1 plus tier 2. You have to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, right? You cannot compare apples to oranges. So this is how we have split it. And when we talk about quantitative costs, when we talk about tier 1 costs, what you pay to the payroll software includes, in most of the softwares, leave and attendance is included, HR changes, or the actual use of the software, which we call as the employee self-service, is included, and your core payroll engine is included. Verification of payroll is on your time, generation of payroll reports is on your time, making necessary payments to various authorities is on your time, releasing payslips and tax computation reports on the ESS is on your time, handling employee queries is on your time, right? So you have the direct cost of the payroll software, then you have your cost, the cost of your time, and then you also need the extension, that is these consultants. There may be one or there may be many, but you still need these consultants to help you with the compliance, statutory items, to help you with TDS, to help you with handling notices and communications. So typically you'll have a chartered accountant firm or tax consultants who will help you with TDS and traces and all of that part of the equation. And you'll have a statutory compliance consultant who will help you with PF, ESI, PT, and that part of the equation. And these are not only for filing. I mean, they are also, in most cases required to establish last mile services like withdrawals, transfers, death cases, processing this, that, solving problems for you, and a host of other things. With your payroll partner, okay, with your payroll partner, you have only 2 aspects where your time is required. One is you have to actually provide inputs to your payroll partner, either on a software that the payroll partner provides, or in the form of an Excel sheet, which we call as payroll inputs on a monthly basis. And then you have to make the necessary payments. And even this necessary payments, if you opt for the cash management services, even that can be taken care by your payroll partner, if that's what your business requires. And everything else is included. One of the very important things that you also have to note here is you don't have to manage multiple relationships. Can you see on your screen that you manage one partner who's going to do end-to-end, right? Versus with a software, you at least need to manage three partners. Your payroll software provider, then you have your statutory compliance consultant, and then you have your chartered accounting firm or your TDS consultant, tax consultants. So 3 versus 1. Now that's a huge difference in terms of, and it does not only mean money. I mean, look at the efforts that you have to spend to move data from this partner to that partner. Look at the time that you have to invest with all of these partners to provide you services. Look at the tracking mechanisms that you need to have to track their SLAs, to track their TATs, to make sure that the work is completed. I mean, it's one is better than many. When we talk about qualitative costs, now these are the tier 2 costs, my friends. Tier 2 costs, the focus is not on quantitative factors like transactions or reporting or getting the job done, but rather qualitative factors such as professional knowledge and expertise, industry standardization, data security, data confidentiality, availability of data, which is called as data backup and archival, cost of scalability, when you want to scale from, let's say, 10 employees today to 100 employees in the next 6 months or in the next 1 year, or even when you want to scale down, it is not just scaling up, it also says, scaling down. When we talk about risk mitigation efforts, when we talk about non-compliance risk, when we talk about business continuity plan, and when we talk about disaster management and response, right? Couple of examples that I would like to give here is, so in 2019, one of our clients had 63 crores worth of notice. Of course, this client is a multinational large organization. They have about 600, 700 employees in India alone. They have presence in about 45 other countries. So this client, we've been running payrolls for this client since 2015, but they got an assessment order for the period 2013 to 2014, right? So for this period, even to contest that this demand that the income tax department has raised, that the TDS department has raised, valuing to about 63 crores is incorrect, they did not have data. Right, so data is not only about today, but data is for the next 7 years. You need to have the data for the next 7 years, and I see that I am running out of time. I still have just 10 minutes. Okay, I'm going to run through here. So that's one example of data availability. It is very, very essential. Yes, a software provides you that access to data, but only until you are with the software. Right? What about the filing data? What about the TDS data? What about the verification reports? What about the general ledgers? Those are all not there in the payroll software. The payroll software, I mean the HRMS or in those kind of data are still on your system, on your local system, and unless and until your organization has a very robust mechanism of ensuring very high data availability, it would be a pain in the wrong place to actually maintain data availability at all times. Look at scalability, right? We recently got a request just 3 months ago. Akash, can you help us, run payroll for 100 employees to start with, but in the next 3 months, we are going to increase our strength to 300, right? So when we talk about scalability, yes, payroll software, you can put 300, you can put 3,000, 30,000, no problem at all. But you know that payroll software does only 4 of the many activities that we spoke about, right, in the previous slide. But is your consultant capable of giving you that scalability? Do you have the time to have that kind of scale to go from 100 to 300 in 3 months? I mean, imagine the amount of efforts and times it is going to take. You're already busy with performance management and with recruitment and God knows from where you're going to get time for running payrolls. Business continuity plan. Yeah, this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about, qualitative aspects here. So when COVID hit in March, we all started working from home. But I'm really proud of my team that in February we tested our BCP. And do you know that none of our clients, and I'm sure this is the case with any established large-scale payroll outsourcing partner, none of our clients or our partners' clients, none of their payments were delayed. None of their salaries were delayed. We all work from home. We still made sure that everything happens. And the lockdown in Tamil Nadu was announced on March 23 or 24, I guess. And we were in the middle of payroll cycles for a lot of organizations. Now that is business continuity, right? We also had a case where one of my very close friends who runs an organization, who was always very keen about having it in-house. So one day out of the blue, he calls me and he says, man, my guy has fallen terribly ill. Right? And I need to pay my employees. They offer HR staffing. So if I don't pay these employees, I don't know what is going to happen to my clients who have staffed his employees. So can you help me? Now, this is business continuity, right? When we are one or two people, it is very difficult. The stakes are very high with that one or two individuals. But when you go with the reputed, knowledgeable organizations, the large ones like us and many others in the market, you have the promise that no matter what happens, your pay and your pay related obligations will continue to happen. These are some examples that I wanted to share with all of you. Now, it also matters what you look at, right? Are you only going to compare the quantitative costs, or are you also going to compare the quantitative plus the qualitative costs? So you have to be mindful of what you are going to look at. Comparison has to be apples to apples. Only quantitative in nature, you have to add the cost of your time and efforts, and you have to add the cost of your consultants and extensions. When you're talking about in a payroll partnership outsourcing agreement, you look at all of it, quantitative plus qualitative costs, and practically it includes everything if you choose that kind of a relationship. So I am of the opinion that if you consider quantitative plus qualitative costs, both put together, payroll outsourcing offers better value for money if you have at least double-digit employees. Now, just a few more slides. I'm going to quickly run through them. 4 more factors: scalability, data security, risk management, and risk ownership. Yeah, so this is something that I did not cover. Risk management. So who is the owner of risk? Who is responsible if something goes wrong? In a payroll outsourcing relationship, it is your payroll partner who is responsible. We are responsible if something goes wrong. We are responsible for the fines and penalties if we have committed a mistake. Right? So you not only outsource the work, but you also outsource the risk associated with the work. And I mean, that doesn't mean that you should expect fines and penalties. No, all organizations, large enough organizations, have very strong controls to make sure that the work is done accurately and on time. But even if something goes wrong, the risk is that of the payroll partner and not of you. That's how our agreements are written. That's what we sign for agreements, right? Now, all is not glory, okay? There are situations when payroll outsourcing does not work. And I want to make sure that I am not biased to tell you a blanket statement that payroll outsourcing works everywhere. Not at all. Daily and weekly wages, payroll outsourcing doesn't work. It's just too much of cost. And there is so much of dynamism in daily and weekly wages, you will not find it efficient. Sectors or companies having hidden employees, okay? So there are in a payroll partnership environment, you can't say I will comply with this set of employees and I will not comply with this set of employees. No, that's not possible. So those companies and sectors who have hidden employees, it's not possible, or it is extremely difficult to outsource payrolls. And typically, so I'm not trying to generalize, but we have seen this with hospitals, we've seen this with mid-tier educational institutions, we've seen this with textile industries, right, where we actively advise that it is best done in-house, because your payroll partner doesn't have the capability to run two different, hidden and non-hidden companies. Then there are companies who don't want to comply with the laws. I mean, then forget payroll outsourcing, because the crux of payroll outsourcing is compliance. Yeah, so if you don't want to willingly comply with the laws, then I think you don't have to worry about payroll outsourcing. Just stick with payroll software if you need to. And also, yes, companies who don't have the necessary budgets. As I told you, in totality, if you look at the cost, right, payroll outsourcing is much more value for money. But you have to look at it in totality. A lot of these intangible things, we can't assign a rupee value to it, and thereby your management or your business owners may not appreciate the budget that you have to have for payroll outsourcing. So it's absolutely fine. I mean, at some point in time in the organizational journey, you will make the transition, but let that be some other day, if not today. Okay, so payroll outsourcing also has a relationship with employee size, right? So if you have too few employees, 5 employees, 6 employees, 10 employees, 11, 12 employees, I mean, payroll outsourcing isn't that effective until and unless you are like, I want to only run my core work. I don't want to do anything else apart from my core. I don't mean to say that you shouldn't outsource, but it is not preferred, is what I'm trying to say. In a large organization, they have their own shared services. So in a large organization, let's say 15,000 employees, 20,000, 25,000, 30,000 employees, what happens is you have that knowledge in-house. You can afford to have that knowledge in-house, right? You can have tax experts, you can have payroll experts in-house, so you don't actually necessarily require payroll outsourcing. But let me tell you, I know a company which has 35,000 employees who has still outsourced payroll, and I also know a company which has just 5 employees and who still outsource payroll. So these are not hard and fast rules. I'm just giving you the landscape of the market. You also have to choose your partner very carefully. Let me state to all of you that, okay, this is the 4th last slide. I know I'm running out of time. Please bear with me. We'll complete in the next 5 minutes. So too many vendors in the last 5 years, right? The industry has had too many people in the last 5 years, particularly in the last 5 years. What you should prime category or prime criteria for you to look at is knowledge, execution, technology, and processes. This is very important. Please also beware of the firms who are also payroll outsourcing partners, because payroll outsourcing itself is a business, and who are also payroll outsourcing are trying to do too many things in under one umbrella, and you may not get the value that you would get from pure payroll companies like us or many other companies like us. Industry presence provides credibility, right? So look for industry presence, look for how many years they have been, look at who are the promoters of the organization and what is their backing. There are also partner misfits. If you choose too big a partner, or if you choose too small a partner, right, it may not work out in the long run. So choose your partner consciously and carefully. You should, I prefer that you should look at product-based payroll partners. So a difference between a product-based payroll partner and a non-product-based payroll partner is non-product-based payroll partners use the software of a third party, right? Like, for example, they may use Great HR software and they will provide you payroll outsourcing services. Whereas product-based payroll partners, like, for example, Relativity, right? So Relativity is a product-based payroll partner where the payroll product that we have is our own. The ESS that we have is our own. We have an IT team in-house. We undertake all the technology-related items in-house, and that gives a much better control in the relationship in terms of integrations, in terms of changes, in terms of improvements, in terms of customizations, should you need it in the future, right? Because you shouldn't evaluate payroll partner only for today, you should also evaluate payroll partner for tomorrow. A partner who charges the software cost instead of an outsourcing cost would absolutely be unsustainable, and you already know that why. So quickly, some facts about Relativity, my friends. We are 12 years and young. We have 153 clients and counting. We process about 12 lakh transactions every quarter. Our accuracy rates have been one of the best, 99.79%. We have direct and indirect presence in 16 cities, and an interesting fact is Form 16s we've issued is about 500,000 Form 16s that we've issued. We work in payroll, taxation, compliance, and accounting, right from payroll outsourcing to payroll lodgement for large organizations to in-premise payroll for organizations who want it. We undertake payroll audits and all of this. I am open for questions, but before you all go, I have a quick poll for all of you, and I'm going to open that right now. And this will really help us do well in our future webinars. I request all of you to please take a couple of seconds and vote. And also the session is open for questions. If you have any questions, please use the chat, and my team will help take the questions. Okay, so request all of you to poll. This will help us improve our webinar. This will help us, deliver better webinar services to all of you. And if you have any questions, happy to take them. Radha, so while the poll is there, I don't know who's going to take questions. Who's going to help me out with questions if there are any?
Sir, actually Radha has had some technical issues, so I am going to take care of the questions.
No problem. Yes.
Sir, actually I had some questions in my box. So some companies are for outsourcing itself, they are very concerned about the payroll policies, and also they don't want to disclose with the vendor. So in those cases, how we can overcome it? What are all things that we can to do it? They want to do the outsourcing, but because of they don't want to share the payroll policies and the salary structures, what are the benefits that they are providing to the employees, that they don't want to share with anyone.
Okay, so payroll, in a payroll outsourcing environment, as I mentioned, knowledge and expertise is the core of the payroll outsourcing relationship, right? And if there is something wrong with your salary structure, if there is something wrong with how you are administering your policies, how you are actually undertaking them and all of that, then you really cannot get the best from your payroll partner. So you have to, choose a payroll partner whom you trust, on who you have, faith in their systems and processes, and you can audit them on a regular basis, right? To make sure that all your data is secure, all your data is confidential. And the best thing is not to hide anything from your payroll partner. Ultimately, the decision of having a policy is that of the company. The payroll partner advises whether it is right or wrong. So get that advice, take action. The action could be a change or could be nothing.
Okay. So, and also I had another question. Most of the organizations, while outsourcing the payroll, they are concerned about the data security. Uh, so how we are working on that? So just for everybody.
Yes, absolutely. So I think data security is one of the top contenders when you are outsourcing your payroll, and you have to look at what systems the payroll partner has to ensure security of the data. Like for example, the payroll software that the payroll partner has that gone through the necessary certifications? Is there vulnerability assessment undertaken? And is the software safe? Does it have the trust symbol on the software, which means your data is encrypted at rest? How is the data being saved? So, like for example, in Relativity's payroll system, we save the data encrypted, the personally identifiable information. Let's say date of birth or PAN number, all of these are PII, we call personally identifiable information. So this ISMS, InfoSec Management System, that we have established in Relativity mandates that all PII has to be encrypted and stored. Then we also have access controls, like for example, you have the physical access control, who gets inside the office, who goes out of the office, do you have necessary firewalls in place? So all of this definitely needs to be evaluated when you're choosing a payroll vendor, payroll partner rather, and it is very important to make sure that you evaluate your payroll partner with all of these access controls, firewalls, vulnerability assessments, and how the data is stored. Just saying that data is secure doesn't help. They have to prove to you that the data is secure. Okay, so just as a reminder, your feedback will help us a lot. I see that about 54% have given your feedback. Those on LinkedIn and those on YouTube, please also provide your feedback. It will help us deliver better experience moving forward. I really encourage all of you to please provide your feedback. They're just quick 5-6 questions. It wouldn't take more than 15-20 seconds. Padmajyoti, back to you.
Yes, sir. I have not received any chat questions till now. If anybody have any other questions, just you can unmute and ask your question. Actually, we can discuss on that.
Yeah, sure. So we'll hang in here for about a minute or two, and definitely we'll take questions. You can even put questions on LinkedIn and YouTube, and then one of my team members will relate to me here. So any kind of question, anything anybody wants to ask questions or anything, go ahead. So I think I should consider, questions don't come if there are two extremes. Either I have done extremely well, or either I have not done well at all. I don't know which of the extreme that I should assume. Amada, thank you very much for your comments. I really appreciate that.
So I have another question actually. If the company is a very small and they are not having enough budget to outsource it. But if we are going through for the consultants, what and all steps that they have to look into that? How they can evaluate a consultant? Because we know many people are telling that there will be many chartered accountants will be there, but they are not getting enough stuff to them. So how they can evaluate so that it will be helpful for others?
So when you're talking about the compliance consultants, or you're talking about payroll partners who are as consultants, not as companies like Relativity?
Yes, sir. Payroll partners who are named as a consultant.
Who are named as consultants. Wonderful. So when you look at evaluating consultants, See, so look at something like this, right? You can buy a burger at the shop next to your locality, or you can go buy burger at McDonald's, right? It comes at a price. McDonald's, the burger that you buy at McDonald's tastes exactly the same, has a standard all the time, every time you visit it, right? And that may not necessarily be with the locality, but that doesn't mean that the locality, your local burger shop is bad. It doesn't mean that. A lot of organizations outsource, typically the small organizations outsource payrolls even to chartered accountants who are there in their own cities or in their own localities. Yes, you can choose, and if I look what I have to look at it, I definitely have to look at what is their business continuity metrics, right? Because chartered accountant firms, usually they are run by 2, 3, or 4 partners, and then they have a set of article assistants. Versus organizations like Relativity, where we have a complete hierarchy and management structure. So you have BCP, high levels of BCP at companies like Relativity, ADP, Excelity, EY, and all of those. And you should evaluate what are the BCPs available, because that's one of the core reasons that you are handling, you are handing your payroll out to them. The second is what data security practices they have, what certifications they have. Do they have an ISMS policy in place? Do they have the necessary firewalls, the apparatus, the security apparatus in place? So that is also something that you should definitely look at. And the third evaluating point is, have they been openly forthcoming with knowledge, right? With expertise. So processing payroll versus proactively providing knowledge and processing payroll are two different things. So knowledge is also something, see, I may know everything, but am I willing to tell you? That's the question, right? So look at these 3 aspects, and I pretty much feel that they may be a good start. Okay, Pranil says good and informative. Thank you, Pranil. Appreciate that. Hey, so just in case you are on YouTube or on LinkedIn, feel free to post your questions there. My team will relay them here. So we'll have the last 1 minute. If there is nothing, then we can definitely move on. So one question to the participants. I see that there are a few participants here. One question to the participants: what is your number 1 pain point in terms of either with a payroll software or a payroll outsourcing service provider? What is the friction that you feel you've experienced either now or in the past? Please use the chat, and any responses will be really appreciated. Great. So I see that everybody is very satisfied. Wonderful. No problem. Divya, would you want to give an email ID, or Padmajyoti, anybody? Would you want to leave your email ID so that people, if they have questions, they can reach out? Please also leave the email ID on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube, so that if there is somebody there, they can reach out there from there as well. Okay, wonderful. Guys, thank you. Yeah, so here you go. In case you have any questions, please reach out to either of them. Will be really helpful. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. One of the good things that we do is we have a payroll quiz. Is that every week or once in 2 weeks, Divya? or I'm not sure, probably every week or something like that. So you can join us for our quiz on LinkedIn. Don't worry, they are not very complicated, very simple questions, and that's another way of giving back to the community. We also have our blog and our YouTube. Links are coming up on each one of your platforms right away. Please feel free to please feel free to follow us there, and Godspeed, good luck, and good health to all of you. Thank you very much for joining. Bye bye.